any second. Yay! Hello, Nina. I'm so excited to be here. I just wanted to have a short video because it's so good to hear from a writer who's been working with me a little bit and who's been through the program to kind of talk about what it looks like and what you get out of it, because it's kind of hard. If I'm not saying I guarantee you're going to get your outline or you're going to get your finished manuscript or anything, because a lot of what we're talking about, as we've talked about, I don't have control over. You as the writer and the creator are the one who has to step into those shoes and actually take action. But it is possible. And so I'd love to share with people a little bit about that. So I have a few questions for you.
Yep.
Where were you, just to set the scene for the people watching, where were you in your writing before we started working together?
Okay, so if I go right back, basically the last year, about a year ago, I wrote my last novel, and it was an epic battle, good against evil, good being the writing, evil being the cups of tea, the distractions, the things like that.
Yeah.
And I came to you because I felt stuck. After about 3 months in, I just went, where's it all gone? All the words have gone, everything stopped. And you were able to give me initially, that's before the course even, a real nudge over the line to, it's not about the outcomes, it's about the words and the love of the words. And so I sort of gripped onto that for a while, but it still felt really stuck. And everything I tried to do, I have 4 novels, 3 of which I was trying to edit, and I just couldn't seem to get past. I was editing the same 10 pages. I was going back over and over and over again, and I felt really stuck in that space. And that's when I came to the course, after just thinking, yeah, I did the free challenge, and I thought, well, I'm starting to feel like I hear what you're saying, and I'm starting to feel like things are starting to move a bit, but it didn't feel like I was in motion. I didn't feel like I was in flow. So I jumped in and did the full course, and yeah, I'm really glad I did.
Yay! I'm so glad you did as well. It's really interesting too. I guess I want to say this. A lot of people that might watch may feel like the trick or the problem that they need to get around is the way that they harness words, or that it's the structure, which we do talk a bit about structure in the course, but if anybody looks at the modules, they will see that that's not until week 3, because that's not the problem. I know from reading even snippets of your work beforehand, the writing wasn't the problem. Not your skill, not your education, not your, I don't know how many courses. So maybe even that, how many workshops or courses do you reckon you did before you've done Writer's Flow?
Heaps. So I just, annually I do a conference with the Romance Writers of Australia, and that is chock full of workshops. I also do their online programs, and I've done some stuff through writers' centres. So I have done quite a lot, and I've read a lot of books on structure, on craft, on how to put words together, and writing's been basically my working life. So I was a professional writer as well. So yeah, the problem wasn't with the words, it was the fact that I could take the same sentence and write it 3 different ways, and I would sort of land on one and go, yeah, that's okay, and then I'd come back the next day and go, no, that's not the right way to write that sentence.
Right.
So I was just pulling everything apart, and now I understand that was just my inner critic saying, no, go no further. This is very dangerous. Don't give your work to people.
Yeah. You know, don't show anyone. It's not ready. It's not ready.
It hasn't got that high sheen polish. So yeah, it was just the fear. And I didn't know. And I had read, Big Magic. I had read a lot of really good things, and I knew a lot of the nuts and bolts of what I wanted to do and how to get past it. But it just seemed like there was this invisible barrier between me and putting that into practice. So, and And even if I did do it, like when I pushed myself through and I wrote those novels, it just wasn't fun. And I've given up my job because I wanted to do this, because I wanted this to be my life. And I need it to be fun because it doesn't pay a lot.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. The goal is always to get the payment. But anybody who's watched me for a while will know that I say this. There is discipline. There is definitely, you do need to sit down and do the work. I have a meme that I will probably share again that says, you show up for the muse, not the other way around. And that's true. But I'm also not one for, you know, having to kill yourself for the work. You sit down and do it, but even on a day-to-day basis, I want every writer to be enjoying it a little bit, at least a little bit, even if it's like working out, like it, you know, you might not think it's super fun, but it's a good exhaustion. It's a good sort of energy that you're putting to it. So another question about how far in do you reckon you started to feel a shift where everything maybe was dropping a bit? Yeah, like it sunk into it.
I think it was around end of week 2, beginning of week 3. So there had been small shifts in the 5-day challenge. So I had felt kind of like the waves lapping at my feet. But it was around about end of week 2, beginning of week 3, when it was just like the 3rd week we're starting, and yes, we are still going to be talking about mindset. We are going to get that right. And that really was a good change for me. That was when I started to, something in there just sort of slipped. And I think also when we talked about the inner critic, and we actually talked about addressing the inner critic rather than ignoring the inner critic, that was a really powerful shift for me as well.
I think it is for a lot of people, right? Yeah. I think it's a little bit different from most places that tell you how to work around it, ignore it, stuff it down. I'll say, kick it in the face, you know, punch it, you know, relegate it to the back seat. And not all the violent parts, maybe sometimes relegate it to the back seat, but there has to be an inner knowing about it. Okay, so then to make this a little bit shorter, because of course, you know, I could talk to you all day and then some, but back
to you.
How does it feel when you go to your writing now? Or what is one thing that feels tangible, even if it's still bordering on intangible, but one solid thing that you know you've taken away from this course and makes you say, hey, I'll even opt in to do another live round, or
absolutely,
go and do it again.
I'm there for the next live round. Like, it's one of the real joys, I think, of this course, is knowing that it's not one off and then the door shuts. It's whenever I need a top up, I can slide it again. I think that's, for me, one of the really big parts. But for me, it was that there was a real quantum shift. So it started to shift, but the real quantum shift for me happened when we were doing the office hours, where we were all talking together, and we were able to put those issues, and we were able to talk about things, and I heard other people's issues and what they were. And somewhere in there, I remember coming to my desk and sitting down and feeling physically different in my body. So there was no resistance. I didn't have to make myself sit down. I didn't feel at all uncomfortable. I sat down, I turned the computer on, and instead of opening my socials, I opened the document and I read it, and I just went, hang on, this isn't shit. Yay. I like this. And yeah, I think that shift for me, a lot of it is down to the battle with the inner critic, and somewhere in that conversation, we came to a peace. And we have come to this point where, okay, yeah, you can actually like what you write, you're allowed, and you can enjoy writing it. And that is, I think, the gift that no one has been able to give me. I've been writing professionally for 30 odd years, and no one has been able to give me that level of comfort and joy in my writing. So that is the gift that you've given me, and I will love you for it forever. And I will follow you for any courses you do. And even though, you know, I've given up work, I don't have a lot of money. We had to, you know, make an arrangement for payments, and, you know, I really, really thank you for that. I've never spent money better in my writing life.
That makes me feel so good. I'm so thankful. Well, look, I'm sure we're going to have another conversation that we end up sharing with people. It might look a little different, but thank you so much for coming today and just sharing a little bit about what your experience was, especially from the writer's view.
Yep.
One of the things that I do say is one of the differences with me is that I'm not doing active writing right now, so I'm not in competitive voice, but it also means I'm not the best one always to share what that process looks like. I know what I hope for all of my writers to experience, but it's beautiful to hear words directly from writers who have gone through it and hit those little points and see what a transformation they've made with their work. You're obviously passionate about it. You wouldn't have spent so much of your time even doing a different kind of writing before you got to this place, but getting to that position where you've made friends and you've made peace with your writerly self and your internal editor that's priceless to me. So I'm so thankful. And until next time, thanks for sharing with us, Nina.
Thank you so much.